Welcome to the world of science fiction, where extraordinary tales come to life. Enjoy the journey. Will counted his stolen treasures while his pregnant rat watched with beady eyes. 3 wrapped candies, worth more than a week's scavenging in the rust-eaten sprawl of Scraggin 5's lower ward. The orange smog hung thick today, turning the afternoon sun into a diseased eye that watched everything and judged nothing. One for me. One for you. He unwrapped the first candy, broke it in half. The rat snatched her portion and retreated to her nest of shredded fabric. One for me. Ah, hell with it. 2 for you. You're eating for 6 at least. The screaming started just as he popped the last piece into his mouth. 3 stories down, in the narrow alley between the defunct water processing plant and what used to be a textile factory, 3 mange-eaten dogs circled something small, something purple, something that sang. The girl had her hands pressed over her eyes, swaying slightly as her thin voice carried up through the rust-thick air. Mama sang when scared and lone, sing real soft, my little one. The lead dog, a thing of scabs and exposed muscle where fur had fallen away, lunged. Will moved before his brain caught up. The candy went flying. His boots hit the fire escape's first platform hard enough to buckle the corroded metal. Second platform. Third. Then a 10-foot drop that ended with his knees screaming and his hands already reaching for weapons. The first rock caught the lead dog in its milky eye. The beast yelped, twisted away. Will grabbed a length of rebar, rust flaking off in his grip, and swung it like a club. Connected with another dog's ribs. The crack echoed off the alley walls. Get lost! Go eat garbage, you ugly sons of... The third dog got him. Teeth through his forearm, down to bone. Will didn't scream. Streets taught him that screaming meant weakness, and weakness meant death. Instead, he jammed his thumb into the dog's remaining good eye and twisted. The dog released him, howling. All 3 fled, tails tucked, disappearing into the maze of collapsed shipping containers that made up most of the lower ward. Will pressed his bleeding arm against his shirt, already calculating how many days of infection he'd bought himself. Then he looked at the girl. Purple skin, like someone had dipped her in twilight. Silver hair that caught what little real light filtered through the smog. Maybe 7 years old, maybe 8. Hard to tell with Velvari. The slave collar around her neck blinked steady red, proximity warning. She belonged to someone, and she'd wandered too far. You stupid? Will's voice came out harsher than intended. Blood loss made him dizzy. Why were you singing? Her amber eyes opened slowly, like she was surprised to still have eyes to open. Mama said, if you sing when you're scared, dying doesn't hurt as much. Your mom was stupid too. Dying always hurts. Will sat down hard, his back against the alley wall. The candy he'd dropped lay in a puddle of something green and viscous. Waste of good theft. But you know what's worse than dying? What? Living. Sometimes, living's worse. He reached into his pocket, pulled out his emergency candy, the one he'd been saving for when things got really bad. Broke it in half. Here, take it. She took the candy with reverent fingers, like he'd handed her gold instead of processed sugar and synthetic flavoring. Why did you save me? Didn't. Just hate those dogs. Will watched her eat, tiny bites like she was trying to make it last forever. What's a Velvari doing down here anyway? You people usually stick to the middle tier. I'm not you people. I'm Freela. She sat down beside him, close enough that he could smell the hunger on her, that particular scent of a body eating itself. They don't feed us until we're sold. Have to find food ourselves. 4 days, Will said. Wasn't a question. He knew that smell too well. 5. Freela licked the candy wrapper clean. Soon I get purchased. Then food won't matter. Something twisted in Will's chest. Not sympathy. He'd burned that out of himself the night he'd run from home, bleeding from fresh lesson in why crows don't show weakness. But something else. Recognition, maybe. The look in her eyes, the one that said she knew exactly what came next and had already started making peace with it. Who's buying? Afshore, the grabber who runs the flesh markets. Will knew Afshore. Everyone knew Afshore. 6 arms, 3 of them mechanical replacements for ones he'd lost in trade disputes. Collected pretty things, used them up, discarded the husks. You should run. Where? Freela touched her collar. This will shock me unconscious if I go past 3 blocks, then they'll hurt me worse for trying. They sat in silence while Will's arm bled through his shirt. The rat appeared at the edge of the fire escape above, chittering worriedly. That your pet? Freela asked. Partner. She spots, I steal, even split. What's her name? Rat. That's not very creative. Neither is dying with your eyes closed. Freela laughed. Not the bitter laugh Will expected, but something bright and unexpected in the rust-stink alley. You're mean. Yeah, well, mean keeps you breathing. Will stood, wavering slightly. Come on, know a place that throws out almost expired protein bars. Might as well eat before tomorrow. For the next week, they met every day. Will taught her survival in the hard language of the lower ward. See him? That's Grab, 6 arms, no brain. Why do you call him Grab? Because he's always grabbing everything, see? He just stole from his own pocket. Idiot doesn't even know his mechanical arms have different programming than his real ones. Freela giggled, the sound strange and clean in the corroded air. The second week, things shifted. A gang of older kids, mostly human but with a few grabber youth mixed in, cornered them behind the abandoned convenience store. Will tensed, calculating angles. 6 against 1, and his arm still wasn't healed. Bad odds. Well, Crowboy's got himself a purple girlfriend. Shut up, Billy. Make me traitor. Your dad's still looking for you, you know, offering rewards. My dad can eat shit and die. Billy stepped forward, brass knuckles glinting on his fist. Will shifted his weight, ready to fight dirty, when Freela did something impossible. She grabbed Billy's wrist. The gang leader's eyes went wide. His mouth opened in a silent scream. But instead of pain twisting his features, something else happened. His face softened. Tears rolled down his cheeks. He looked happy. Devastatingly, overwhelmingly happy. What? Billy stumbled back, staring at his hand like it had betrayed him. What was that? Joy, Freela said quietly. She swayed on her feet, face pale beneath the purple. When's the last time you felt real joy? The gang fled. Billy kept looking back over his shoulder, confusion and fear and something like longing on his face. Will caught Freela as she collapsed. What the hell was that? Empathy. Velvari thing. I can share feelings through touch. She smiled weakly. Hurts though. Sharing happiness when you don't have much. It's like giving away pieces of yourself. Why'd you do it? Rule number 2, right? Team beats solo. Will stared at her. He'd said that 3 days ago, offhand, while teaching her to create distractions during theft. She'd remembered. She'd listened. You're something else, purple girl. Freela. My name is Freela. Yeah, I know. The third week brought confessions in the dark of a collapsed subway tunnel they'd claimed as a hideout. Will's rat had given birth. 7 pink, squirming things that Freela cooed over like treasures. Why'd you run away? Freela asked, watching the baby's nurse. Family business didn't agree with me. Will touched his ribs, feeling the still tender spots where training fractures had healed wrong. Crow family's all about strength, traditional strength. Wake up at 4, knives thrown at you by 5. Combat training until you puke, then more combat training. Sounds horrible. That was the easy stuff. Grandpa, they call him the shadow dancer. He's got this thing about pain. Says it purifies. Broke my fingers when I was 6, teaching me to fight through injury. Will flexed his hand, joints popping. Dad agreed with everything. Mom just watched. Brothers competed to see who could take more. But you left. Yeah, 2 years ago. Figured dying on the streets was better than dying in that house. Freyla touched his hand. Just a brush of fingers, but Will felt it. Her understanding, her sorrow for him, warm and real as the candy they'd shared. You're not mean, she said. You're hurt. There's a difference. Same result. No, mean people hurt others because they like it. You hurt others to keep from being hurt. That's not mean. That's scared. Will pulled his hand away. I'm not scared of anything. Everyone's scared of something. Yeah? What are you scared of? Tomorrow. Always tomorrow. Today I'm alive. Tomorrow. She shrugged. Tomorrow I might not be. The 4th week changed everything. Will had been tracking offshore, learning patterns, trying to find leverage. What he discovered made his blood freeze and burn at the same time. The grabber patriarch wasn't just another flesh trader. Will watched from a ventilation grate as Afshar met with his lieutenants in what they thought was a secure location, an old meat processing plant that still stank of ancient blood. The Velvari princess arrives tomorrow, Afshar's translator spoke, while the grabber's primary arms gestured. The last of the royal bloodline. The texts were clear. Her blood will cure the rust plague. One girl's life for thousands of grabber children. Will saw the hologram Afshar clutched in his secondary arms, a young grabber girl, maybe Freyla's age, covered in the characteristic red lesions of the plague. The image flickered, a recording, playing on loop. The girl was already dead. My Sela would be 12 now, Afshar continued, his voice a wet rasp through the translator. She died at 7, same age as the Velvari. Poetry, perhaps, or justice. Will slipped away, mind racing. Freyla wasn't just a slave. She was the last Velvari princess, and her blood was about to become the most valuable commodity in 3 systems. That night, the last night, Freyla escaped her holding pen using the dead tree root poison Will had taught her to make. The guard would wake up in 6 hours with a headache and no memory of falling asleep. She found Will on their roof, the place where they'd first properly talked. Tomorrow they sell me. Her voice barely whispered above the constant hum of the city's dying machines. No, they won't. I promised, remember? Will stood, pacing. I'll figure something out, I always do. You can't fight Afshar. He owns half the lower ward. Then I'll steal you. The collar. I'll break it. Will. She grabbed his hands and her fear flooded through him, deep and vast and older than her years. But underneath it, love, simple and pure and impossible. Some things can't be fixed with stealing or fighting. Watch me. He pulled his hands away, then stopped, turned back, took out his knife, not a weapon, just a tool, rusty and dull, drew it across his palm until blood welled up. Crow blood oath, unbreakable. I will save you. Will, no, I swear it. She kissed his cheek. Little girl kiss, wet with tears, soft with hope. Through her touch, everything she couldn't say poured into him. I have to go back. The collar's about to alert. There's something else. Freyla, you're... Will stopped, telling her she was royalty, that her blood could save thousands, that she was worth more than credits. It would only make tomorrow worse. You're going to be okay, I swear it. She ran. Will stood on the roof until dawn, blood still dripping from his palm, planning the impossible. The Crow compound squatted on the hill like a cancer made of black stone and reinforced steel. Will hadn't seen it in 2 years, hadn't wanted to, but promises written in blood demanded prices paid in pain. He walked through the front door. The dining room exploded into chaos. Adrian, his older brother, dropped his fork. Mother's plate shattered on the floor. Father stood slowly, like a mountain remembering how to be a volcano. The prodigal returns. Father's voice held no warmth, only assessment. I need 50,000 credits. You need a beating for that entrance, boy. But father was smiling now, the particular smile that meant violence was coming. 2 years on the streets. Let's see what you learned. Adam Crow's fist crashed into Will's ribs. Old muscle memory kicked in. Roll with the impact, create distance. But 2 years on the streets had changed everything. When Adam followed with the classic Crow combination, Will dropped low, grabbed dust from the floor, threw it straight into his father's eyes. Gah! Adam stumbled back, blinking hard. Pocket sand? Really? Will darted in. Kidney jab, dance away. Worked, didn't it? Adam lunged. Will's rusty reflexes betrayed him. His father's hand closed around his throat, lifted him up, then, gently, set him down. You fight like a rat now. Adam brushed dust from his eyes, actually grinning. But a living rat, that's something. He returned to his chair, gestured for Will to sit. Talk. There's a girl. There always is, Adrian interrupted, his arm still in a cast. Remember when Thomas ran away for that merchant's daughter? Came back in 3 days crying about, Thomas is dead. Mother's quiet words killed the conversation. The dogs got him. 7th trial. Silence. Will hadn't known. Another brother gone. The girl, Adam prompted. Velvari, 7 years old, being sold tomorrow to Afshur. The grabber who collects pretty things? Adam's expression darkened. Ugly business, not our business. I made it mine. Blood oath. The room froze. Even Adrian stopped mid-chew. You stupid little... Adam caught himself, breathed. How much? 50,000. Might as well ask for the moon. We have it. The voice came from shadows near the weapons wall. Grandfather stepped into light, 70 years old but moving like spilled mercury. The Tessier job. Payment cleared yesterday. Will's throat tightened. Grandpa, don't. Thunk. A butter knife stuck in the wall, an inch from Will's ear. Call me Shadow Dancer, or Sir, or nothing, but not that weakling word. The old man circled Will like a predator studying prey. The girl is Velvari? Describe her. Purple skin, silver hair, amber eyes, has empathic abilities. Royal blood. Grandfather's laugh sounded like grinding gears. The last princess, if my sources are correct, parents died in the purges. Someone hid her in the slave markets. Clever. We're buying a princess? Adrian whistled. What's the play? Ransom? Political leverage? The play, Adam said slowly, is that our idiot son made a blood oath. We either honor it or kill him for shaming the family name. Will kept his face neutral. His heart hammered against broken ribs. Interesting. Grandfather stopped circling. Tell me, boy, what price will you pay? Credits or nothing. The family demands payment in flesh and time. Anything. Careful with that word. Too many teeth in that smile. 3 trials. Pain, fear, shadow. 1 year in the cave. And when you emerge, if you emerge, you belong to the family. Forever. I accept. And the girl? She goes free, real free. Money, documents, protection. But you don't see her again, not for years, maybe never. Will's voice cracked. I know. Then we have a deal. Grandfather turned to Adam. Make the arrangements. Buy the girl at dawn. I'll prepare the trials. Mother stood, walked to Will, slapped him hard, then crushed him in a hug. You stupid, brave, stupid boy, she whispered. I thought you were dead. Sorry, Mom. Don't be sorry. Be strong. The dancer's trials. She pulled back, eyes wet. Thomas couldn't do it. Neither could Marcus. But you're different. Meaner. That might save you. Dawn crawled across the lower ward like a disease. Sick yellow light over rust and decay. Afshar's compound buzzed with activity. The grabber sat on his mechanical throne, 3 arms signing documents, 3 others conducting business. Adam Crow entered with 2 family soldiers. Credits changed hands, documents signed. They brought Freyla out in chains, small, terrified purple skin almost gray with fear. 50,000, Afshar's translator spoke. Unusual price for unusual goods. The buyer must have unusual needs. The buyer values quality, Adam replied, and discretion. Of course. Afshar's mechanical arms whirred. Though I wonder, the Crow family hasn't dealt in flesh before. Times changing? Times always change. People who don't change get left behind. Adam smiled. Or eaten. The threat was subtle. Afshar caught it. 3 arms moved to weapons. Adam just kept smiling. They left with Freyla. She clutched the note, reading through tears. Freyla, dummy, you're free. You have lots of money. Buy candy every day, you hear? And meat, and milk, and dresses probably. Girls like dresses? I'm in family school. This is for a long time, maybe a very long time. But I'll find you. Even if you become a queen or something cooler, remember the survival rules, especially number 1, survive. P.S. Learn to sing properly, okay? For our wedding, your hero dummy, Will. She looked up at Adam. Where is he? Where he needs to be. You're free now. Apartment in middle tier, accounts in your name, enough to live comfortably forever. But Will made his choice. Make yours. Live well. That's what he paid for. No preparation time. The moment Adam returned, they dragged Will to the basement. Old blood smell. Newer fear smell. Pain, grandfather announced, is the universe's only honest teacher. Doesn't lie, doesn't coddle, doesn't care about feelings. Crack. Will's index finger broke with casual precision. Will screamed. No shame. The dancer expected screams. Good. Still have nerves. Now fight. Adrian entered, cast removed, grinning. Ready for round 2, little brother? Will cradled his broken finger. Tried making a fist. Couldn't. Adrian attacked. Orthodox Crow style. Precise. Brutal. Efficient. Will fought dirty. Street dirty. Bit Adrian's ear when they grappled. Knee to the groin. When Adrian doubled over, Will used his broken finger like a claw, jammed it into his brother's eye socket. Adrian went down howling. Disgusting, grandfather observed. Effective, again. For 1 month, this was life. Wake up, something broken. Fight anyway. Learn to use pain, not flee it. Will's right hand became a club of fractured bones and surgical tape. Ribs cracked and re-cracked until breathing felt like swallowing knives. But nights brought mercy. Mother came with healing salves, mint and motor oil smell. Told stories about brothers, the funny ones, not the deaths. Adrian started slipping him painkillers, little white pills, just enough for sleep. Why? Will asked one night, half delirious. Because you're doing this for love, Adrian said. Stupid love for some purple girl you knew a month. But still, none of us did trials for anything but fear or ambition. Thomas did it for love. Thomas died screaming. Adrian's face went dark. But yeah, he did it for love. Maybe that's why Grandpa gave him the hardest version. The fear room was worse because it changed. Day 1, tiny box. Too small to stand, too small to lie down. 3 hours, Will pissed himself. 6 hours, clawing walls until fingers bled. 12 hours, hallucinations. Walls crushing, pressing, consuming. Then release, family dinner. Everyone acting normal while Will shook and sobbed into soup. I wet myself during the spider room, Mother mentioned casually, passing salt. Back when I married into the family, the trials weren't just for blood crows then. Spiders? Will croaked. Day 3, probably. Adam passed bread. Grandpa loves his patterns. Day 3 was spiders. Day 7, drowning, repeatedly. Just to the edge. Day 15, Deepfake videos of Freela being tortured. So realistic his mind couldn't tell. But between sessions, family, Adrian teaching breathing exercises, Mother singing forgotten lullabies, even Adam, gruff and distant, staying up for cards when Will couldn't sleep. "Fear's just your brain trying to keep you alive," Adam said, dealing another hand. "Problem is, sometimes you need to nearly die to really live." "That makes no sense. Nothing about our family makes sense. We break our children to make them unbreakable. Stupid tradition." Adam paused. "But it works. Did you want to do this to us?" Long silence. "I wanted sons who could survive anything. The dancer gave me that. But the cost." He looked at Will's shaking hands. "Sometimes I think we should have just been normal. Had normal kids. Let them be weak and happy. But then we wouldn't be crows. No, we'd be something else. Maybe something better." The cave wasn't really a cave at all, but a sensory deprivation chamber buried in the sub-basement, older than the house above it. No light penetrated its walls. No sound existed except what you made yourself. Food and water arrived through a slot at random times, destroying any sense of day or night. Will entered on his 9th birthday. The door sealed with a soft hiss, and then darkness swallowed him whole. Complete, absolute darkness that pressed against his eyes like a physical weight. The first week, rage consumed him. He screamed until his throat bled, beat his fists against invisible walls until his knuckles split. He tried counting seconds to track time, but lost count after what might have been hours or days. Started over, lost count again. The numbers became meaningless sounds in the dark. By the second week, bargaining replaced rage. "Please," he whispered to the darkness. "Anyone, anything. Just one light for 1 second. I'll do anything. I'll die if you want. Just please give me light. Please." The darkness answered with silence. The third week brought its own silence. Will stopped speaking, stopped moving, stopped hoping. He lay on the floor and wondered if he was already dead. But in the 4th week, something else began. It started with his breathing. In the absolute dark, his heartbeat sounded like thunder, blood rushing through his veins like rivers. Then he noticed quieter sounds, insects moving in the walls, air flowing through invisible vents, the tiny scratches of his own hair growing. 2 months in, discovery changed everything. Will made a clicking sound with his tongue, experimentally, desperately. The sound bounced back, and suddenly shapes painted themselves in his mind. Another click revealed a wall 3 feet ahead. A third click showed him the ceiling, 7 feet up. Click, click, click. The room materialized in sound, dimensions emerging from echoes. "I can see," Will whispered to nobody, to himself, to the dark that had become his teacher. "I can actually see." By the 3rd month, he'd achieved mastery. He could navigate by sound alone, better than he'd ever moved with sight. Different materials reflected sound differently. Stone sang one note, metal another. He could hear textures, distinguish between smooth and rough by the way sound bounced back. His ears became his entire world. 6 months brought an unexpected visitor. The door opened briefly, not for release, but to admit grandfather. Will didn't open his eyes, didn't need to. He could see the old man through echolocation, a ghost painted in clicks and breath. "Still sane?" grandfather asked. "Define sane." The old man laughed and set something on the floor. "The princess sends drawings, wants me to give them to you." "I can't see drawings." "No, but you can feel them." Grandfather pressed paper into Will's hands. Raised bumps met his fingers. Freela had pressed so hard while drawing that the paper had embossed. His fingers traced flowers, stick figures holding hands, hearts drawn with a child's earnest intensity. "She's 10 now," grandfather said, "learning to read. Sends me questions about you. I tell her you're becoming something special." "What am I becoming?" "Dangerous. Different." Most who survive the cave come out broken, but you're adapting. Evolution in real time. The old man stood, his movement disturbing the air in patterns Will could read. 6 more months, boy. Don't disappoint me. Why do you care about her? About Freyla? Because she might be the key to something bigger. Or maybe I'm old and getting soft. Who knows? The door sealed again, and Will was alone with his darkness and Freyla's drawings. Months 7 through 12 blurred into a strange dream where waking and sleeping lost their boundaries. He had long conversations with imaginary Freyla, teaching her the things he'd learned, learning things his mind invented for her to say. He mapped every inch of the cave through sound, caught cave crickets by echolocation alone, discovered that heat created different air patterns, warm things sounded different than cold ones. On day 365, the door opened again. Come out, boy. Will's voice came rough from disuse. Why? It's loud out there, bright, complicated. Because that's where life is, and you made a promise to find someone. Will stood slowly, keeping his eyes closed, and stepped out of the cave. The sensory assault nearly dropped him. Too much noise, too much movement, too much everything. The world roared at him. Open your eyes. No, they're useless now. I see better without them. While Will learned to navigate darkness, Freyla was discovering light. 2 years had passed since Will's sacrifice saved her, and at age 10, she found something remarkable beneath a destroyed temple, the underground library of Velvari, hidden and forgotten. She devoured books in 3 languages, and in an ancient genealogy discovered the truth that changed everything. She was the last of the royal bloodline. The weight of it crushed her for weeks. Every dead Velvari, every lost tradition, every forgotten song now rested on her small shoulders. But then determination replaced despair. If I'm the last, she told her reflection in a broken mirror, I'd better be the best. Another year brought Master Colin, who promised to train her empathic abilities. For 6 months, he taught her control, focus, refinement. She learned to filter emotions, to shield herself from the constant noise of other people's feelings. She trusted him completely, which made his betrayal perfect. He sold her location to imperial forces for bounty money, leading soldiers straight to her door. At age 12, when Colin came to collect his reward, Freyla was ready. She touched his face gently, almost lovingly, like a daughter saying goodbye to a father. Then she pushed everything into his mind at once. Every betrayal he'd ever committed, every child he'd sold, every trust he'd broken. The weight of his own cruelty, reflected back infinitely, stopped his heart in seconds. She vomited for 3 days after. I taste his death, she whispered to her reflection, the same broken mirror that had witnessed her vow. Metal, bitter, wrong. The sensation of his dying thoughts lingered for weeks, teaching her the true cost of using her gift as a weapon. She never killed with empathy again. By her 15th year, rebellion had found her, or perhaps she'd found it. But she fought with strategic emotion, not weapons. She could make corrupt officials suddenly feel the hunger of those they starved, force war profiteers to experience the terror of children in bombing zones. One by one, they cracked under the weight of enforced empathy. They confessed their crimes, retreated from their positions. Some even tried to make amends. Her 18th year brought an invitation from the Emperor himself. He thought to use her, the last Velvari princess, tamed and loyal, a perfect propaganda tool. She attended his court, smiled at his jokes, curtsied perfectly. At the state dinner, she sat at his right hand, and when he reached for his wine, she touched his hand as if to thank him for his hospitality. In that touch, she gave him everything. Every death his policies had caused, every family destroyed by his wars, every child who'd starved while he feasted, all of it, at once, flooding into his mind through her gift. His heart stopped from the weight of sorrow. The emperor literally died of grief, physicians would later say, though none could explain how grief could be so sudden, so total, so fatal. By age 22, she was empress, not through conquest but through healing. She touched her subjects and took their pain, shared their joy when they had little to spare. She built connections person by person, heart by heart, until the empire couldn't imagine anyone else on the throne. They called her Empress Freyla, the empathic, and they loved her with the fierce devotion of those who had been truly seen, truly felt, truly understood. The correspondence between Freyla and Shadow Dancer had started when she was 15, shortly after she learned Will was in the cave. Her first letter was formal, uncertain. "Your Highness," Shadow Dancer had written, "my grandson mentions you in his sleep. He's in the cave now. Thought you should know he's alive." Her response came quickly. "Mr. Dancer, thank you. Is he well? He needs darkness and time. Send drawings if you want. He won't see them, but touch has memory." "Why are you helping me?" "You're going to be empress one day. When you are, you'll remember the Crow family helped when you were nothing. Politics, child. Always politics." "I think you're lonely." "Everyone's lonely. Some of us are just better at it." The letters continued for years, an odd friendship growing between the teenage future empress and the aging assassin. Shadow Dancer taught her battle tactics through chess notation, each move a lesson in strategy and sacrifice. She taught him empathy through poetry, verses that made him remember what it felt like to feel. They never wrote about Will directly, but he was present in every letter, the ghost that connected them. When she became empress, her first state invitation went to Shadow Dancer. He actually came. The Imperial Palace security really was terrible. Will moved through the halls like smoke given purpose, silent feet, controlled breathing. He didn't need his eyes, hadn't opened them fully in daylight for over a decade. The echolocation that saved his sanity in the cave now made him deadlier than any conventional assassin. Click. Marble walls 20 feet high. Click. 3 guards around the corner. Heartbeat slightly elevated. Boredom, not alertness. Click. The throne room door. Massive, ornate. Exactly where intelligence said. The mission should have been simple. Steal Imperial communication codes. The kind of job the Crow family did when legitimate business was slow. But nothing about this felt right. Too easy. Too convenient. Too planned. The throne room door opened before he touched it. "Come in, William Crow." Female voice. Authority wrapped in silk. Will stepped through, let the door close. The room's acoustics painted themselves in his mind. Vast space, domed ceiling, single figure on a raised platform. "Your Majesty." Will gave a mocking bow. "Your security needs work. I got in here with my eyes literally closed." "Did you? Or did I let you?" The Empress descended from her throne, each step calculated, measured. Her heartbeat was strange, slower than normal, utterly calm, like she'd been waiting. Will kept his hands visible but ready. The knife in his boot hummed against his ankle. "The communication codes. Hand them over and nobody gets hurt." Such a boring threat from such an interesting man. She stopped 10 feet away. "Tell me, how does one survive complete darkness for a year?" "Practice." "And how does one learn to see without eyes?" "Necessity." "And how does one keep a promise made in blood 15 years ago?" Will's heart stopped, started, raced. "Lucky guess, Your Majesty." She moved closer. A scent hit him, not expensive perfumes, but something underneath, something familiar, rust and candy and... "Do you know what I do with thieves, William? Execute them, imprison them, bore them to death with speeches. I make them share their candy, one for me, one for them, one for me, one for their pregnant rat." The knife was in his hand before conscious thought. Will moved like lightning, like shadow, like everything grandfather had beaten into him. The blade found her throat just as his other hand caught her waist. Classic crow control position. Nobody knows that. Nobody except... She laughed. That same bright, impossible laugh from a rusted alley 15 years ago. Hello, hero dummy. Will opened his eyes fully for the first time in years. The light hurt, made everything blurry, but he could see her. Purple skin aged to deeper violet. Silver hair braided with actual silver threads. Amber eyes that still held that spark of survival. Freela? She removed her ceremonial mask completely. Took you long enough to find me. Find you? You're the bloody empress. I was trying to rob you. I know. I arranged it. Will's hand started shaking. He pulled back the knife but didn't lower it. You... what? Your grandfather and I have been corresponding for years, planning, waiting for the right moment. She touched the scar on his palm, the one from his blood oath. You promised to find me, even if I became a queen. Well, I overachieved a bit. The pieces clicked together in Will's mind. The too easy infiltration, the convenient mission, grandfather's insistence he take this job personally. That manipulative old bastard. He's actually quite sweet in letters, sends poetry sometimes. Terrible poetry, but still. Will lowered the knife. 15 years, Freela. 15 years of darkness and pain and becoming who you needed to be, just like I became who I needed to be. She pulled out a holographic projector. Want to know what I've been up to? The projection showed devastation, cities in ruins, mass graves, the rust plague spreading across grabber populations. Afshore was right about one thing, Freela said. His people are dying. The plague mutated 5 years ago. It's killing thousands of children every month. Good, let them all die. That's not who you are. You don't know who I am anymore. You're the boy who saved me from dogs when it wasn't your problem, who shared his last candy with a slave, who bled for a promise. She touched his face. Through her empathic gift, he felt her, really felt her. 15 years of loneliness, determination, and underneath it all, love. Constant, impossible love. Afshar found me last week, she continued, not as an enemy, as a dying old grabber begging for help. He's sick himself now, has maybe days left. So I need someone I trust to help me save his people. Not for him, for the children who didn't choose to be born grabbers. Will pulled away from her touch. You're serious. Always. It's my worst quality. The throne room doors burst open. Adrian stumbled in, bleeding from 3 wounds, dragging someone behind him. Brother, thank God you're here. We have a prob... Adrian saw Freela, saw Will's protective stance. Oh shit, it's her, isn't it? The purple girl? Adrian, what are you doing here? Grandfather sent me as backup. Good thing too. He threw his captive forward, caught this one trying to assassinate the Empress. The captive was a young grabber, maybe 16, all 6 arms bound. Will recognized the bone structure, the eye placement. Afshar's son? Grandson, the boy spat. Come to stop the Blood Witch from torturing my grandfather. Freela walked to the boy, knelt despite Will and Adrian's protests. She touched his face gently. Feel what I feel, she whispered. The boy convulsed, not from pain but from surprise. Through Freela's touch, he experienced her genuine desire to help, her sorrow for his people's suffering, her determination to find a cure. You actually want to help? I want to heal. It's what I do, even for those who once wanted to buy me like meat. The boy started crying. Grandfather is dying. He wanted to see you one more time, to apologize. Then let's go see him. The smell hit them first, antiseptic and approaching death. Afshar's estate had become a medical facility. Former luxury suites now served as plague wards. The old grabber lay on what would clearly be his deathbed. Only 2 of his 6 arms still functioned. Your Majesty, he wheezed through the translator. You came. You asked, to apologize, and to beg. He pulled up a hologram, the same little grabber girl Will had seen 15 years ago. My Sela. She would have been 22 now, your age. I know. I would have drained you dry to save her, would have felt righteous doing it. His mechanical arms twitched, failing. But you're saving my people anyway. Not for you, for them. I know. That makes it worse, better, both. Afshar's eyes found Will. You're the boy, the one who loved her. Still do. Good. That's good. Protect her from becoming like me, someone who loved so hard they became monstrous. Afshar died before dawn. His grandson wept. Freela held the boy while he grieved, sharing his pain through her gift, lightening it where she could. We'll find a cure, she promised. Not with blood magic or ancient texts, with science, with medicine, with hope. Winter melted into spring before the wedding preparations were complete. The imperial palace had been transformed, or at least that was the plan. In reality, everything that could go wrong did. Grandfather wheeled himself around in a chair everyone knew he didn't need, criticizing everything. In my day, we courted for 20 years before even holding hands. In your day, people died at 30, Adrian shot back, wrestling with his formal suit. And you literally tried to kill Grandma on your first date. It was a test of worthiness. It was attempted murder. The rehearsal brought its own chaos. Adam Crow, the man who'd broken his children to make them strong, broke down crying when he saw Will in his wedding attire. My little boy, he sobbed while Mother dragged him out. My little boy is growing up. Will had never seen his father cry. It was deeply disturbing. The ceremony itself devolved into beautiful chaos. Will couldn't stop clicking his tongue. Echolocation had become unconscious habit. Wedding guests thought he had hiccups. During the vows, Freela's crown fell off. Will caught it, tried to put it back, accidentally pulled her whole veil off instead. The rings disappeared, then reappeared, then disappeared again when Rat, the original, ancient, somehow still alive rat, stole one for her nest. Is that the same rat from... Yeah, she's 20. I think she's immortal out of spite. When they finally reached the actual vows, the whole room held its breath. Freela, Will said, his voice carrying to every corner. I promised to marry you when we were kids. Figured it was just childhood talk. But then I spent 15 years in darkness, and the only light was remembering your terrible singing. The crowd laughed. Freela punched his arm. So here's my real vow. I promise to always share my candy, to teach you worse ways to steal, to find you no matter how many times we're separated, and to never, ever make you sing alone. Freela was crying, mascara running in purple streams. Will, you dummy, you beautiful broken dummy. I promise to always sing off key just to annoy you, to use my terrifying emotion powers only for good, mostly, to heal your wounds, even the ones you won't admit exist, and to never let you forget that a purple girl from the slave markets became empress just to find you again. That's the most toxic romantic thing I've ever heard, Adrian stage whispered. Shut up, Adrian, everyone said in unison. The kiss was supposed to be ceremonial, brief, proper. Instead, through Freela's empathic touch, Will felt everything. Her love, her joy, her relief that they'd finally found their way back. And she felt his, the desperate loneliness of the cave, the iron determination that kept him alive, the moment he decided she was worth any pain. They pulled apart, gasping, overwhelmed. Too much, she whispered. Never enough, he whispered back. 5 years had passed since the wedding that nearly destroyed the imperial palace, and somehow, against all odds and several laws of physics, the Crow Velvari family had only gotten stranger. Papa! Papa! 4-year-old Lyra burst into Will's study, where he was attempting to decipher trade agreements by echolocation, a skill that worked better for finding assassins than understanding tax law. The bird's hurt came back. I tried to keep it away, but it won't stay. She held up a sparrow with a bent wing, tears streaming down her purple-tinted cheeks. The bird chirped miserably. Will set down the documents with relief. Any excuse to stop reading about grain subsidies. He knelt beside his daughter, the one who'd inherited her mother's empathy but twisted into something new. She could pull pain into herself, hold it for a while, but never destroy it. Remember what we talked about, sweetheart? Pain's like your Uncle Adrian's jokes. Terrible and keeps coming back? I was going to say persistent, but that works too. Will gently took the bird. You can't fix everything. Sometimes you just make it better for a little while, and that's enough. But it hurts when it comes back to them. I know, but you gave him a break from hurting. That's a gift. From across the garden came a familiar shriek of righteous indignation. Uncle Adrian is a liar, Will sighed. And there's your brother. 4-year-old Marcus had cornered Adrian near the fountain, pointing an accusatory finger at his uncle like a tiny purple prosecutor. You told Grandma her new hat looks nice, but your inside feelings think it looks like a dead peacock. Adrian, veteran of countless battles and assassination attempts, looked genuinely panicked. Listen, you little truth terrorist, sometimes we say nice things even when... That's called lying. Papa says lying is bad. But also, Papa lies about liking Mama's cooking, so maybe lying is okay sometimes, but only for love. The boy's face scrunched in concentration, trying to reconcile the contradiction. He'd inherited Will's strategic mind and Freela's emotional perception, which meant he could detect every lie but desperately wanted everyone to feel better about them. Your mother's cooking has improved, Will said diplomatically, scooping up his son. Remember last week? The soup was almost edible. I heard that, Freela called from the palace steps, carrying their third child, a perfectly ordinary 18-month-old who did perfectly ordinary baby things like drool, giggle, and somehow get mashed peas in impossible places. You were meant to, Will called back. It's called marriage communication. Freela joined them on the grass, her imperial robes traded for a simple dress that already had suspicious stains from whatever the baby had been eating, or possibly experimenting with. Hard to tell with babies. At least I don't click at my food before eating it, she said, settling beside him. It's called being cautious. That soup was moving. It was stirred. By a spoon. Allegedly. The baby, whom they'd named Felix because grandfather insisted every family needed at least one normal name, reached for Will's face with sticky fingers. No empathic pulse. No unusual sensory abilities. Just pure, uncomplicated baby curiosity. Still nothing? Freela asked quietly, watching Felix try to eat Will's nose. Nothing. He's magnificently, miraculously normal. In this family, that might be the strangest gift of all. A mechanical whir announced grandfather's arrival. The old man rolled up in his completely unnecessary wheelchair, which he'd had modified with hidden blades, a tea holder, and what Will was pretty sure was a small ballista. "Children," he barked, "time for lessons." "Yay, violence!" Lyra cheered, dropping the bird, which flew away crooked but functional. "It's called strategic defense," grandfather corrected. "Violence is what we do to other people. Big difference." "Grandpa," Marcus said seriously, "your heartbeat says you're excited about violence, but your words say you're not. That's called—" "Being civilized," grandfather interrupted. "Now, who wants to learn 17 ways to disarm someone with a soup spoon?" Both twins raised their hands. Felix tried to eat his own hand. "They're 4, Freela protested. "I was 3 when I learned my first disarmament." "And look how well you turned out," Will muttered. "I heard that. I'm old, not deaf." Grandfather pulled out a surprisingly thick folder. "Speaking of which, I've been corresponding with several noble families about potential marriage arrangements for the twins." "Absolutely not," Will and Freela said in unison. "They're 4, Freela repeated. "Planning ahead never hurt anyone." "You literally have a scar from planning ahead," Adrian pointed out, joining them with a picture of something purple and probably alcoholic. "Remember the incident with the preemptive anniversary gift? That explosion was hardly my fault. How was I supposed to know she was allergic to romantic gestures? It was a bear trap. A decorative bear trap." Marcus tugged on Will's sleeve. "Papa, Grandpa's lying but also telling the truth. How does that work?" "It's called being a crow," Will said. "We're professionally complicated." As the afternoon wore on, the garden filled with the kind of chaos that had become their normal. Lyra practiced absorbing pain from flowers, which was apparently possible and deeply weird. Marcus followed Adrian around, announcing every emotional incongruity he detected, which led to Adrian drinking directly from the pitcher. Felix ate grass with philosophical intensity, and through it all, Rat, the eternal, impossible 25-year-old rat, watched from her newest nest in the palace walls. Her great-great-great-grandchildren scurried around her, but she remained, guardian of stolen treasures and witness to promises kept. "You know what I just realized?" Freela said suddenly, lying on her back in the grass while the twins tried to braid flowers into Will's hair. "We're happy." "Don't sound so surprised." "No, I mean, when we were kids hiding in that alley, did you ever think we'd have this? Any of this?" Will clicked his tongue thoughtfully, the sound painting his family in dimensions only he could perceive. Freyla's steady warmth, the twins' chaotic energy, Felix's serene normalcy, even grandfather pretending to nap while actually planning their educations. "Honestly, I thought we'd be dead by now. Romantic." "You asked for honest, not romantic." "I suppose I did." She reached over, found his scarred hand, the one that had made the blood promise so many years ago. "Do you think we're good parents?" "Definitely not." "Will, what? Look at us. You're an empathic former revolutionary who killed an emperor with feelings. I'm a blind assassin who sees with sound. We're raising our kids with the help of a definitely sociopathic grandfather and an uncle who copes with everything through alcohol and sarcasm." "When you put it like that, we're great parents." Freyla laughed, that same bright sound that had saved him in a rusted alley when they were children. "Mama," Lyra announced proudly, "I made Papa pretty." Will's hair now contained approximately 17 flowers, 3 sticks, and what appeared to be a sleeping butterfly. "Beautiful," Freyla agreed solemnly. "He should wear it to the council meeting tomorrow." "Don't give her ideas." "Council meeting!" Marcus shrieked. "Everyone has to be pretty. It's a rule now." "That's not how rules work," Will started. "I'm the Empress," Freyla said airily. "I can make whatever rules I want." "Co-Emperor," Will corrected. "And I veto flower crowns in council." "Veto overruled." "You can't overrule a veto." "I just did." "That's not how government works." "It is now." Grandfather opened one eye. "This is why I never married. Too much politics." "You were married 3 times, Adrian pointed out. "Never successfully married." As the sun set over New Scragan, which now boasted actual buildings without rust, a miracle in itself, the family gathered for their chaotic evening meal. The dining table was a battlefield of spilled juice, flying vegetables, and Felix somehow getting soup in his ear. "A toast," Grandfather declared, raising his glass of definitely not medicinal whiskey, "to the weirdest family in the Empire." "To promises kept," Will added. "To terrible singing," Freela laughed. "To candy," the twins shouted. "To still being alive despite everything," Adrian contributed. Felix threw mashed peas at the ceiling in what they chose to interpret as agreement. Later that night, after 3 bedtime stories, 7 glasses of water, and one incident involving a monster that turned out to be grandfather trying to sneak extra dessert to the twins, Will and Freyla stood on their balcony. The same stars that had watched over 2 desperate children now looked down on an empire at peace, more or less. The plague was cured. The various species coexisted with minimal attempted genocides, and somehow, impossibly, 2 broken kids from the lower ward had built something worth keeping. "I've been thinking," Freyla said. "Dangerous." "Shut up. I've been thinking about the prophecy." "What prophecy?" "The old Velvari one. About the last princess and the son of shadows having 3 children. The third would either save or destroy everything." Will looked back through the balcony doors where Felix was peacefully sleeping in his crib. Perfectly normal. Perfectly ordinary. "Maybe that's the point," he said. "Maybe being normal in a world of powers and prophecies is the most revolutionary thing of all. That's either very profound or complete nonsense. Both. Definitely both." They stood in comfortable silence, 2 survivors who'd become so much more. In the walls, Rat settled into her nest, guarding her treasures, wedding rings, candy wrappers, children's drawings, and now a new addition, a flower from Will's ridiculous braid stolen by tiny paws and added to the collection of promises kept and love endured. "Hey," Will said suddenly, "want to make them another sibling?" Freyla choked on air. "What?" "I mean, we're already outnumbered. Might as well make it a proper disaster." "That's your reasoning?" "We're already drowning, might as well add more water." "Would you prefer the romantic version? Something about our love creating new life to heal the damaged world?" "That's worse. So much worse." "So, is that a no?" Freyla turned, pulled him down for a kiss that carried 15 years of shared pain, joy, and absolutely terrible decisions that somehow worked out. "Ask me again when Felix stops eating everything he finds." "So, next decade?" Optimistically. They laughed, and somewhere in the palace, grandfather made another note in his conspiracy journal, already planning the theoretical 4th child's education. The twins would wake them at dawn with some new crisis. Felix would probably eat something poisonous but ultimately harmless. Adrian would arrive hungover. Grandfather would suggest something morally questionable but effective, and life would continue in its beautiful, chaotic, imperfect way. But for now, in this moment, 2 children who'd saved each other stood together under stars that had seen everything and judged nothing. Some promises, it turns out, don't just survive, they thrive, multiply, and occasionally try to eat furniture. And that, perhaps, is the best kind of happily ever after. The kind you have to fight for, keep fighting for, and sometimes bribe with candy. In the Imperial Archives, historians would record the great deeds of Empress Freyla and Emperor William, but in a nest in the walls, guarded by an immortal rat, lay the real truth. 2 candy wrappers from children who chose each other when they had nothing else and never stopped choosing no matter what came next. The end. Or rather, the beginning of the next beautiful disaster.